what do they miss if they haven't got it? And that's birdsong.
Stupid, fake, disinterested, which is not the case. It's just the fact that you have a problem with hearing.
Hear Help is a big lottery-funded project, and the idea is that we use volunteers who've been trained to carry out maintenance to hearing aids to maintain people's hearing aids either in drop-in centres in the local community or to go and visit people who can't get out of their houses and visit the local communities or the other departments and go to their houses and repair their hearing aids.
For people that have hearing aids, they want them working all the time, otherwise they are limited by what they can hear. But the real element is the safety part about them, is that if they're walking on roads and they haven't got their hearing aids working, then they're more likely to get knocked down, you know, from the safety point of view. So it's the health and safety.
I support local and national campaigns. I drive forward brand awareness and try and educate and inform members of the public via the media and digital platforms like Twitter and Facebook. I also am involved in public affairs work, working with partners and lobbying key decision makers like the Welsh Assembly Government to try and influence change.
I'm trained as a teacher of the deaf, and I'm also an educational audiologist as well, so when I took early retirement it seemed an obvious charity to go for when I wanted to do some voluntary work because I had more time on my hands, so I thought they were a good charity to go for, and obviously I've got the knowledge and expertise that I can hopefully help spread the word.
Don't Lose the Music, which is a campaign that has been targeting actually youngsters. I do give talks, like I said, to various audiences and in schools as well, colleges, students' unions.
Hear to Me is a social group service for people that are hard of hearing or deaf in their local communities, so that people can come together, have a cup of tea and a chat and find out information and advice and help regarding hearing loss. My grandparents had hearing loss, and just as I was growing up I noticed how they became more and more isolated due to the fact that the hearing loss was going, and you would notice around the dinner table they wouldn't say anything and they wouldn't engage because they weren't able to hear what you were saying, so they just kind of sat back and let it all happen. And it's obviously they have a lot to contribute still, but if you're not aware of it and you can't do anything about it, so that's what drove me to come and work for the charity. In my groups, when people come to the social groups, the two biggest things always are the need for equipment for television and the need for equipment for telephones. So obviously the two main modes of communication with people. If you haven't got either of those, you're very isolated from friends and family and from community and what's happening in the bigger world. So they're the two main things.
People are isolated, and I'm deaf myself, so I can empathise with the clients. Communication can be a problem, and isolation as well. So I wanted that support to be provided, and I think it's really important to have that specialist support, because without it, then there's an increase in depression, mental health problems, and many other issues within the home and the family. Communication when you go to medical appointments, the hospital, there's lots of communication breakdown that can cause depression and make deaf people feel quite low, and it's their right to have accessibility. When I was growing up, there wasn't much support. My education was quite poor, and I didn't have proper support. It was poor. My family were really good, but they don't use sign language. They didn't at the time. When I was 16, that's when I acquired sign language, and I learnt it very quickly. And I knew immediately that it was my language. It was sort of innate within me, and I can now get interpreters in my everyday life so I can communicate, and that's improved greatly. I went to college, to university, and everything improved going forward. But up until that point, no, not really. From 16 onwards, everything really improved.
In Wales particularly, we campaigned for having more lip reading tutors. 2 years ago in Wales there was only 7 tutors for the whole of the country. So we got some funding from the government, so we won some funding. So by next year we'll have 24 additional lip reading tutors in Wales, which will mean in most communities in Wales we'll be able to provide lip reading tutors. So they're real campaigns that have made a massive difference to people's lives. I think reaching people is the key for us. I mentioned information and the importance of information. People don't know much about hearing loss. People don't know things like that hearing aids are free in the NHS. people don't know where to go when their hearing starts to go. So we want to arm people with that information so they can take steps to protect themselves, and when the need comes, that they're able to get the support they need.